Dan Sullivan. He just lit the stage up here at the Go Get Talks, the Go Live event here in Chicago, Illinois. Such a blessing to be able to have a post-stage chat with him. The guy's on fire. He knows so much about the chiropractic brain model and the way that people's bodies work. So I'm just going to lead in a little bit and have him talk a little about what his conversation to the group was, and I'll just manage the conversation as we go.
Well, appreciate it, big guy. I always want to call you doctor, right? Dr. Chester. Yeah, so it's good to be here. You come off stage and you get all fired up, and so I still kind of got the juices flowing. It was the first time I've been able to kind of, step over into a room and, speak to the people out there in Facebook land. So it's a welcome. Yeah, so to speak of that, what did I speak about? Well, here's the thing that I want, if you're a chiropractor out there or somebody, in between. I get fired up about this thing called chiropractic, not because of what it is, but what it has the potential to do. And we walk around in a world where you talk to 10 people and 9 of them think all we do is bad backs, right? And they got their opinion of bad back, or they think that, at best you help back pain, maybe neck pain, maybe some headaches, right? And we know it goes so much further than that. And we know the evidence. And here's my thing, and I talked to them this morning. Like, we carry it on our shoulders to try to carry the burden of having to convince everybody why chiropractic is good, right? Or why they should try it, or why they should be it. And I'm not saying that's bad. What I'm saying is I think our approach should be a little bit different. I think when we start to teach them the simple reality that your spine is intimately connected to your autonomic nervous system, it starts to change the conversation about why they would want to get that evaluated and take care of throughout your life, right? And that's what my big thing is based on the neurology, based on the science, based on the research that we're seeing, that if we can own this for ourselves, and like I said in there, like, research isn't for, to hand them a piece of research, right? Most a patient isn't going to start because you handed them a piece of research. In fact, I have, again, maybe a handful of times, less than a handful, I've been asked about the research, doctor, because when they ask that, they say, I don't trust you. That's what they're saying. I don't trust you. Can you show me some research so it proves my reason I'm going to get out of here? And so I'm not saying the research should be the thing that drives practices, not at all. But I am saying is when we understand better and we're clear on the spine's intimate relationship with the brain and the autonomic nervous system, then we begin to communicate differently. We begin to teach the public and the world that it is more than your bad back or your bad neck in terms of pain, but that's on us to better understand that, because then what comes out of you is where you walk in with conviction and certainty and close people that you never had before. And that's what I kind of try to get them is, let's not convince them of chiropractic. Let's talk about physiology. The spine's relationship with this autonomic nervous system, how healthy the spine is, the movement and alignment of the spine, that is not a chiropractic thing. That's a anatomy and physiology thing. And once we establish that, where chiropractic comes into play is there's this wonderful profession that actually specializes in addressing this thing called the health of the spine, and we do it to remove interference, not to treat. And again, it's endless. So I just, you give me the mic, man. I'm off. So I'll let you go from there.
Yeah. So when I was able to watch a little bit of your talk, the thing that really resonated with me is it's not so much an island that you live on without information. It's a world that we live on with enough information. And the information is out there, and the quality of information is for everybody to get. And now what we have is we have a way to bridge that gap between the brain-body connection and the human potential movement, and that chiropractors are doing a whole lot more than fixing nasty backs and headaches and sciaticas and things of that nature. Even though I do tell people this all the time, chiropractic does a really good job of getting people out of pain, but typically when people come in with pain, what are they kind of to you? They're kind of a pain in your ASS. And we love and appreciate people for their concerns with their health, but really what we want to do is start making healthy people more healthy. And we want to take people that already have a nervous system that's functioning the right way without getting into that problem of sick care, and we want to just continue to perpetuate the idea that people don't need to have a concern to get checked and to get adjusted for a chiropractic visit. So you did something really cool. I know you've done a lot of work with this brain lamp model. Yeah. Let's just show them a little bit about what that is and explain to them on that level. I'll hold the mic for you, but just show them the model and talk to them a little bit about what you did and why you did it.
Yeah. So this is a brain model, and again, You can't see the whole thing, but I'll kind of walk you through what it did. I wanted to take, I'm a big, former Reggie Gold guy, so he always used the dimmer switch, right? And then one of my, mentors and icons in the profession, I've got a lot of them from, James Chestnut to Dan Murphy to John Minardi to, Heidi Havoc, who's one of my, heroes. She's just a fantastic human being, let alone researcher. So I was talking to her one day, this was a couple years ago. I said, what if we just put the brain in somebody's, hands when they come in? Like, because we know what we do is change in the brain, wouldn't it make sense that we could better explain it or give them a reality of this is, I know you came in for your back, right? But because of the relationship between your back and your autonomic nervous system through your brain, we know that we're influencing that. And so, yes, I'm concerned. And you said, you were very eloquent, Jim, about you're true. Like, people come in with back and neck pain. That's great. Like, it gives them a way to come in, and we do radically change that in a good way without drugs. Like, that's a beautiful blessing. And I think we should continue to capitalize and move forward with that. But then it's like that the benefits don't stop there. So I wanted to create this model. And this was more out of response to people saying, how do I do it? How do I teach people that? I get it. I like the research. I like to see that. I love it. But how do I take them from out there into there? So it forced me down this thing, saying, how can I get this? And getting the engineers and putting together the people and getting the production line going. And so this took, it was like building a house. But anyway, what I did was ended up saying, okay, I'm going to take Reggie Gold's mentality with our current literature and show people that when what we do is, and if you could see, it's essentially a movable spine. So I can move it back and forth, right? I can move these bones back and forth, right? Individually, right? Side by side. And what I wanted to do is say, okay, right? The spine, right? Here you go. Is intimately connected to the brain, right? That makes your face look pretty cool, eh?
I know.
Is intimately connected.
Give the shock value.
Yeah. Is intimately connected to the brain. The spine is intimately connected to the brain through your autonomic system. And so a spine that's healthy, aligned, and moving appropriately is going to have full function in the brain that's going to send these information up into this afferent input into the brain, and then allow that brain, this efferent output to come out so the body is adapting appropriately. But what we know is that anytime that spine moves from its normal position, right, it's not functioning appropriately and starts to become altered, it not only just changes the spine, it changes the brain and the autonomic system. So our objective isn't to heal you, it's to find out if you have any of ththese misalignments, what we call subluxation, that's affecting the brain and autonomic system, and to slowly but surely align them so you get back to, right? And so it's simple, more light, more life, more health, right? Less light, less life, less health, right? Same thing, you go from the side, right? If you have to have a nice curve, less curve, more curve, right? So that was the kind of mentality. And again, now there's hundreds and hundreds of doctors that now use that. Not that this is like the answer, but what we do know is that people are so drawn to their sense of vision, their sight, and sight sells them. Like we know, and I went over that analogy, like we know when people see something. So when we look at x-rays, you look at scans, show people stuff. That's what we want to see things. And this is just another one to win them with more than just a bad back or just here hold the spine and look at this pinched nerve. It's saying, no, we affect the brain. So I could go on all day, but that was the model, and I just it's helped me to better communicate versus just say, hey, take my word for it, we changed brain.
Yeah, and I know that I don't think this is a huge sales pitch, but if anybody is interested in getting one of these brain models, you can reach out to Dan Sullivan, and he'd be happy to set you up with one. But, the main impetus of this conversation today with Dr. Sullivan is for him to explain to you guys that there is a neurological benefit to getting chiropractic adjustments. And just like Reggie Gold said, that like the chemistry of life, anytime you do have a subluxation in your body, you're vibrating at a lesser frequency of humanity. And when you do remove that subluxation, you give somebody the absolute truth inside of their body to heal properly and to function properly. So it's more of the human potential movement than the pain movement. Even though chiropractors, like I mentioned early on in our talk, that chiropractors do a really good job of getting people out of pain, the pain cycle is just the beginning. So what would you say to somebody that came into your office and they're like, ooh, high five, I've done 3 months of care?
As if that was the end,
was the
right?
end all.
Well, first off, and that's a great question. First off, is I'm hugely adamant, and I teach doctors how to do this. But what you win them with is what you win them to. I say it again: what you win them with is what you win them to. If they, by the time they've come in and they've high-fived me, thinking because their back pain's gone after 3 months, or the neck pain, or their headache, or their sinus problems, or allergies, then I already know it was my bad. I have to go back to the beginning. How did I win them with? Did I just win them with that? Did I just win them with their symptom? Right? That's where we get into trouble. Is we have to win them with human potential. Now, I'm not saying that sells, right? Because if they are in pain, we need to actually acknowledge that and say, hey, we want to be able to help with that, and I sympathize that, and that would be a focus, right? But it is setting it up along the way to say, hey, we've got our objectives. Here what we're trying to do, not just get rid of the symptoms. We've got objective findings to find out how, and when we know we're doing this, we're changing. So this is that whole thing to your point. Now, does that still happen? Yes. And do people, it's back to, I need to sit you down and say, hey, do you remember, is your spine related to what? So how many days do you want that not working at its maximum? And then it's like, well, no, I'm out of pain. I'm like, well, did you wake up this morning and brush your teeth? Right? And they're like, yeah. Well, your chompers must have been killing you, right? Like your teeth must have been hurting you? Well, no, what do you mean? No, I was not hurting you at all. Oh, you brushed your teeth and they weren't hurting you. Oh, so you actually do that on a way to do what, right? To remove da-da-da. You see him walking in. So the same thing with chiropractic. Like, we're not here to say that, it's just about pain, because just like you brush your teeth to prevent that plaque to build up, you make sure that spine is mobile on a basis to why to remove the interference to keep that brain and body healthy, to your saying. So you just put it in terms that they can understand it, right? Teeth, everyone takes care of their teeth. They know it should be. They brush them a couple times a day, not because they hurt, but because they know it's good. Getting adjusted is good for you. Changing the health of your spine is good for you, more than most people know. And that, to your point, based on some of the best evidence we have today, not just in chiropractic, but outside of chiropractic, medical research, medical stuff, books that have been written, that the spine and your posture is intimately connected to the health of your future. And that's just a matter of fact, right?
I can't say that stuff better myself. I didn't go through the 7 years of schooling to be able to have that platform with that type of passion and knowledge when it comes to the neurological patterns that people represent. But I do want to ask another question based on what you said is, how many times do people come in for a re-exam and they don't remember the first symptom that they are representing when they came in?
Oh. I mean, again, if you're a doc out there, you know this all too well. And I think that's, again, where we got to do a better job at, making sure they're aware and being aware of what's changing. Yeah, they don't even remember. And then they're thinking that, well, I don't think I need you anymore. And then they forgot where they came in from. And then we know, as leaders, as doctors, that will not only come back, but, chances are you're going to be, in a permanent position of change or things that we can't change. So, yeah. And, and again, it's our job, I believe, and we have to remember and constantly fill ourselves up. Oh, yeah. Like after first adjustment, I'm always went over this today, breathing, energy, digestion, sleep. Because we changed the autonomic system, I have every patient make sure, be aware of those things. I'm not saying it's all going to change or any of it's going to change, but I want you to be aware of those things, because I do know that when we change the autonomic, when we remove interference, which our job is to heal, remove interference to the greatest power that's inside you, the doctor's on the inside. That's the greatest thing. You want to get me fired up? The greatest doctor's on the inside. Every patient must know that. We are not healers. Now I should say that. We are not focused on curers, right? We remove interference. The greatest doctor's inside. So yeah, back to that point, which is I want to make sure they know from the get-go that there's some objective findings to this, and that we're going to make sure it's beyond the pain.
Yeah, and that takes me to the next thing is I just had a 20-year class reunion back in Davenport, Iowa. I graduated 20 years ago now. I can't believe it. But one of my classmates came up to me, and she goes, I have degeneration at my C6 and C7, and I'm starting to get numbness and tingling in my hands. I wish I would have started chiropractic care 15 years ago. And, this is somebody I honestly love, and I put my heart out to her, and I said, just keep on living the best that you can and doing the best that you can, because there is what they call that limitations of matter. And when you neglect something, you get the byproduct of that, and then you have to live with those repercussions because you did neglect it. Like if you quit brushing your teeth tomorrow, like you were saying, you don't brush your chompers because they hurt. You brush them because you want them to be good and you want them to be without any concerns. And that's just the way I kind of look at the chiropractic lifestyle. Is you guys are human potential specialists, and you guys do remove the interference in the nervous system, because what does that do? It has a direct influence on the immune system. And I honestly think that when people understand the immune system, it's like, oh, so I should get my kids checked too. Yeah. Because I want them to be healthy too. And I wanted to jump back into the conversation that you were talking about with the wine study, and tell these people before we jump off the Facebook Live with them why the perception of visual is so important to them.
Yeah. Well, he's referring to a study I went over. There was a study that I believe was Stanford, but I can't remember exactly where it was. But they took 154 wine connoisseurs, and they tested red wine versus essentially they apparently, if you're a wine connoisseur, the way you describe a red wine is completely different vocabulary than a white wine, right? I'm not a wine, connoisseur or drinker that much, right? So I don't know the intricacy. So if you describe red wine, you would use completely different verbiage. So what they did is they put red dye into white wine, and then they actually had these connoisseurs describe, and again, remember, tasteless, odorless, so it didn't smell and it didn't taste, but they put the red drops into the white wine, and every one of the 154 connoisseurs described that white wine that appeared red. They described it as red wine. And what it went on to show is that our vision is 10 times stronger in our perceptions of reality than some of the other senses. And so I point that out as like what you do as far as, do you show people scans? Do you show people their, I don't care if you just do range of motion, put it on a thing and show them the, the values, right? Show them, if you take x-rays, show them x-rays. Posture, take posture, show posture pictures. And then that was the thing, again, I created this model, right, is to show them that I want to link them up to the brain. So even if you go out and do a talk, you can link them up to the brain. Now you immediately become different than probably the other doctor that just did the other chiro they went to that was just a back pain guy or a strain guy, right? And so that was another thing of like what you attach them to visually matters. And so we want, because we have such a great product, we want to use every sense of resource and advantage we can to make sure they're getting the care they get. So.
Yeah, and that brings me to the next, the lead-in for people understanding chiropractic at a higher level, and it's not so much about the technique that you use. I heard you talking about this technique thing is, hey, you're a C1, C2 guy, and you're still getting these amazing results in your patients' bodies, and I see the same testimonials on the walls, and I see this happening. Let's talk a little bit about that, too.
Well, yeah, that was the thing that kind of always drove me more recently is like you go into the, somebody could be a Gonse guy, and this is just an upper cervical guy, and this is a different technique upper cervical, and this guy is a full spine, this is a CBP guy, and this is a SOT guy, and you go into it, and you go in the offices, right? Everybody's got the same results, like heartburn, lungs get better, stomach problems, headaches, migraines,
pregnancies,
right? Everything, and so you see that, and so it always sent me like, why can they all, and in reality it became now what we know that the adjustment, regardless of what technique you use or art form you use, is the adjustment changes the brain, and because of that changes the nervous system, it changes the autonomic system, and it changes the adaptability, and then it's obviously going to change the health and performance of somebody. So technique is important. Technique is vital. Be a specialist. Be a specialist in your technique. Have certainty in your technique. It's a huge right now. I deal with a lot of students, man, and gosh, they need technique. We need to be great at what we do. And but it turns out, whether you are an upper cervical or a full spine or whatever, that we do get similar changes in the nervous system. And that's where it's like an artist. 10 artists draw the same object, and they're all going to have something a little bit different, which is great. It's cool. That's called art form. Chiropractic is an art form. It's a blessing for our profession. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm just going to lead out of our Facebook Live here with a shout out to the people that assembled this Avenger team of chiropractors to come out here to Chicago. And let's just show a quick spotlight on the team that's out here, the Chris Zano, the Dan Bay, and the Ashley Oshner. Let's talk a little bit about those guys and what it means to be on a platform with those guys.
Yeah, it's been great. I've known Dr. Ashley for a long time, and him and I are fellow blood brothers when it comes to we bleed Husker red, of course, like everyone does a little bit, right? Dr. O and then Dr. Zano I've known for a long time as well. So it's just good to get, and Dr. Dan I've just, kind of have met recently. And and it's a cool environment, cool event. You're here. I mean, you bring a presence to the event that, is not seen it and not felt at all the events I go to. So yeah, awesome venue, awesome event, awesome content. Yeah.
So we are going to sign off from here in Chicago, Illinois at the Go Event 17. And anyone that was here got so much good information. I talked to the 2 chiropractic students that were here. I put out last night that any chiropractic student that wants to come next year, I got 5 chiropractic student tickets. Tim McFadden, who is a chiropractor who started a Dex referral app, who's an advocate for my podcast, Chiro Hustle, said he's going to match that. So next year, anybody that's out there that wants to come that's a chiropractic student, Dr. Tim and I have sponsored 10 students for next year, so we can, I think that's like 5 timesing or 10 timesing or something like that. But we're going to definitely elevate the consciousness of the chiropractic student going forward, because I think it's vital for people to be in network with guys like Dan Sullivan and guys like Dan Bay, Ashley Oshner, and Chris Zano. These guys exemplify leadership within the profession, and they are home run hitters. They can bat cleanup, they can steal bases. They're 5-tool chiropractors. So anybody that wants to learn more about certainty of practice, how to release their inner hero, how to close more people for care, and how to go out and get more talks, you have to be here. It's not even a question at this point. And with that being said, love and appreciate everyone out there that is on the live feed with us. Please share this. If you guys do have any questions, reach out to Dan or I. If you guys want one of those cool brain models, reach out to Dan. He'll hook you up. So thank you so much. Love you guys.
God bless you. Have a great day.
And I'll be going live all day, so stay with us.